Hello again. Welcome to your 30-minute Yin Yoga flow today. Yin Yoga is a slower moving type of yoga. A lot of lengthening, stretching. We'll be using some different props today. We do have another video about props that you may have or that you may use in your practice. But just to refresh your memory, we have a block. You can use a big hard back book for that. We have a blanket. We have some straps, we have a belt, we have another belt and a tie, and we've rolled a big beach towel up to serve as a bolster. So at any time during the Yin Yoga practice, you can use any of these props to assist you. So we're going to begin lying on our back. I'm going to put the bolster right along the spine, and we'll move Amelia. This is Amelia. We'll move Amelia into what's called heart bench. So let's lie you back. Your spine is coming right onto that bolster. So basically it's lifting that spine up. The arms come out wide. You can let the legs come out long, or you might want to bring your legs into a butterfly legs, where you're bringing the knees out to the side.
That's a better idea. I don't have room.
Knees out to the side and the soles of the feet together. And what this is doing, it's just beginning to open the heart. So the shoulder blades come together, the chest towards the ceiling, and we'll spend a couple moments just finding our breath. Feeling the coolness of the air as it enters in through the nasal cavity and the warmness of that same air as it exits. We'll take another 5 final breaths here. Final breath. Now the eyes blink open. We'll take the bolster out from our spine and make our way into child's pose. So we'll go with a wide-legged child's pose. Why don't you face forward? We'll go into a wide-knee child's pose. So you see the knees are out wide here. Begin to bring the hips to the heels, sitting down on the heels, and then extending the arms out long. Now, I'm going to fold this towel up here, and I'll just kind of place it under her chest. Take this blanket, maybe place it between the heels and the glutes. You want to fill in all the available space. And we're going to take 10 to 12 deep inhalations and exhalations in each of our postures today. Feeling the lengthening of the spine, the muscles that surround the spine, the paraspinal muscles extending, lengthening, shoulder joint opening and lengthening. With each exhale, sitting back on the heels, getting even more of a lengthen and stretch. Five final breaths. Final breath here. Begin to walk the hands back towards the body. and we'll move into a series of cow and cat postures. Face this, there you go.
Okay.
So we'll move into tabletop posture to begin. In tabletop posture, the knees are directly under the hips, the elbows directly under the shoulders, the wrists directly under the elbows. Back is flat. We'll take a deep inhale, and as we do, we drop our belly and look upward for cow posture. We're accentuating the lumbar spine. And then on our exhale, we'll bring our chin to the chest, press into the palms, and dome the spine to the ceiling. A nice rounded spine, the thoracic spine touching the ceiling. Inhale for cow. Exhale for cat. Inhale for cow. Exhale for cat. Take one more series of cow-cat. And release back to tabletop. Turn and face the camera.
The people.
The people. Hello, people. Hello, people. We'll move into thread the needle. So beginning in a tabletop posture. Let's sweep that right arm up tall. Gaze at that hand as it goes up. And then on your exhale, bring the arm through the opening. Extend that right arm out long. Bring the right cheek and right ear to the mat. Now, if it doesn't get there, remember, you have your blanket, you have your bolster, you have your towel, you have your block. Now, you should feel a rotation of that right shoulder. It's internally rotating as you place direct pressure onto that shoulder joint.
Where would typically somebody not be hitting the floor? Where would a blanket typically go? Or
I would put it, so the question was, if you couldn't hear, where might you typically put a blanket? I would put it probably right under the head. So if you want to lift your head up for a moment, we can put a blanket up there. You're bringing or you could put a block under there as well. You're bringing the earth closer to your body. So now, if you're comfortable here, and you want to take this hand, the left arm, and wrap it around the back, that's called a half bind. You can take this into a little bit of a twist as well. So now she has internal rotation of the right shoulder and also internal rotation of the left shoulder. Thread the needle. And we'll take 5 final breaths here. Ligaments, cartilage lengthening, extending, elongating. Deep breath. Staying conscious, staying mindful with the breath. When the internal dialogue begins to come in, stay mindful with the breath. Stay with your posture. Final breath here. And release. Left palm comes to the floor. Press yourself up. Sweep the right arm up tall again. Take a final glance. And come back to tabletop as we go to the other side. Inhale as the left arm lifts tall. Exhale, sweep it through. Extending that left arm out long. I'll get out of the way. Coming down again onto the side of the face, or onto a blanket, or onto a block, or a bolster. Hips are up tall. The hips are directly over the knees here. So I'll show you that from a side view. So my hips are not back, although you could do it this way, but my hips are not back. My hips are up tall. And then if you would like, you can wrap that right arm around the back into a half bind and take your final 5 breaths. Final breath. Bring the right palm back to the floor. Press yourself up. That's the safest way to do it. Bringing the palm right in front of your nose. Press up. Sweep the left arm up tall and make your way back to tabletop. So now let's sweep the legs out long.
That way?
Mm-hmm. We'll take some forward folds. Now, we're going to use a strap here.
Thank you.
I'm going to use one of my old ties. Let's inhale, grow tall, arms up. Exhale, fold. Let's bring the straps to the soles of the feet. Inhale, exhale, fold. Toes come back to the nose. Now, if you don't need to use a tie or a strap of any sort, you don't have to. You can go for the big toes, you can go for the shins, you can go for the ankles. We're just basically trying to get into a forward fold here. But the strap is definitely a prop that is beneficial.
Is it a rounded back or a straight back?
That's a great question. Rounded back or straight back. Depends on what you're trying to accomplish. So for our purposes today, I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. When you come in with a rounded back, essentially you're putting the full spine into spinal flexion. When you come in with a flat back, you're placing the spine into extension. So you can play around, you can go back and forth, different practices, do it a different way. But one is not bad and the other good. As we take our final 5 breaths here. Final breath. And release. Now let's take the left leg out long. We'll take the right leg in, placing the sole of the foot in the inner thigh as close to the inguinal region as possible. This is a good time to put some sort of prop under the knee, especially if your knee is way up here and you can't understand how people can get it down here. That has to do with hip opening. So you can put a blanket under there. We're going to do a one-legged fold. So if you want to use your strap, you can use your strap again. We'll inhale, grow tall. Exhale, suck the belly button back into the spine. The spine should line up directly over the femur, the major bone in the thigh, and find yourself into a fold. Again, being mindful of any internal dialogue that you're having right now, things that are going on in the world, things that are going on in your own life. Stay with the breath. Allow the breath to be your guide. Final 5 breaths. Final breath. Inhale releases the posture. We'll switch out the legs. So again, you can put a block or anything under that knee.
Right, and it's not weird if you have to use a thicker thing on one side.
It's not
than
weird.
the other.
Some people, they can't get their leg any further down than this. It's just practice, practice, practice. That has to do with your hip opener. So even if it's up this high, try to place something in here to give yourself some stability. Inhale. Exhale and fold. Again, spine lining up directly over the femur if possible. Toes flex back to the nose. That engages the bottom of the foot. Using your strap. You don't have to come to your foot if you're using your hands, if you get to your ankle. There is no right, there is no wrong. With each exhale, melt. Final 5 breaths. Final breath. And release. Now we're going to do a wide-legged, seated wide-legged forward fold. So I typically recommend that somebody sits up a little higher here. So on a blanket, where's the block? Oh, it might be under there. So on a blanket or on a pillow of any sort, when you do that, that actually elevates the hips and it's going to give you a little bit more forward foldiness. I just made up that word.
That's
foldiness.
good.
So legs are out wide. Legs are out wide. Okay, feeling a stretch in the adductor muscles, the inner thigh muscles. Toes are facing upward, engaging the calf muscles, the hamstring muscles, and the bottom of the foot. Inhale, grow. Exhale and forward fold. Now,
and that's it.
Every once in a while, I'll see somebody who gets their chest right down onto the mat. That has a lot to do with their hip anatomy and lots of different genetic things that people have, as well as maybe an advanced yogi. I have never been able to get my chest onto the mat, and you see Amelia's quite a distance from there as well. So, it's okay. If you have a big bolster or a big pillow, you can fit that under here to give yourself some support. Otherwise, you can just stay up high and bend forward. It doesn't matter if you can get your chest onto the floor or not. I only know a few people that can do that. Final 5 breaths. Final breath. Inhale, arms sweep up tall. Now we're going to bring the legs, we're going to bend at the knees and bring the soles of the feet together.
Do you still want the blanket under?
If you're comfortable with that, that's okay. So now we have a diamond shape, okay? The soles of the feet pressing into one another. Back is tall, knees are pressed down, and we have a diamond shape area here. If you have a blanket, if you have a block, if you have bolsters and you have space between your knee and the floor, fill it up. Okay? This is called butterfly pose or Baddha Konasana.
Let me have that pillow, please.
This works the inner thigh muscles
Down the block.
and works as the hip openers. Now, when I first started doing yoga about 15 years ago, I would only go to a yoga class that was high impact with a lot of perspiration because that's what I was. I was an athletic person and I was only interested in doing a class that would give me that burn and that sweat. And if I were to ever come to a yin or gentle class at that time, I would have walked out and saying, I didn't get anything out of that. And as my practice has grown and as I've learned more about the human body over the years, and as I've become a yoga teacher, I've realized that there is no bad yoga. Yoga is about showing up, breath, and focus. There are times where I love now a gentle or yin yoga class. I get that lengthening, that stretching that I might not get in a more active vinyasa class. You will see all different types of classes on our website, but I hope that even if you're not a regular yin yoga practitioner, that you'll incorporate some yin postures into your practice as well. They can be very beneficial. If you're never done yoga, if you've had injuries, a yin practice or a restorative practice is a wonderful practice to have as well. 5 final breaths. Final breath. And release. We're going to make our way onto our backs now. We're going to do supported bridge.
Okay.
So we're going to move into a bridge pose, supported bridge.
Second leg.
Grab the pillows. We're going to put them under your back.
Pillows.
So in bridge pose, our knees are bent with our knees facing the ceiling. Heels come in. Can you touch your heels with your fingertips? That's how you kind of know where you're in a bridge pose. Now, if you have a block or a pillow, you can place that block or pillow between the knees. That will keep your knees in the right spot and at the same time engage your inner thigh muscles, your adductor muscles. We're going to inhale, exhale, and then inhale as the hips lift up tall. You're pressing into the soles of the feet. You're pressing into the shoulders. You're bringing your chin to your chest and the chest to the back wall. Now I'm going to fill this spot up. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to fill this spot up here with a towel. Just kind of smushed it in there. So if you can't get as high as Amelia, and if you're new to this, you might not get the hips as high as Amelia is. But if you can't get the hips as high, you can use that bolster, that pillow, that blanket, that towel under your back. Keep the hips up tall, but at the same time, not putting too much stress and anxiety into yourself. Final 5 breaths.
It's probably worth pointing out that you can't get up as high with the block between
And
your legs.
right, Amelia said you can't get up as high with the block between your legs. Okay, I'll take that.
It's interesting because it makes it like I feel like I'm not doing as good of a job, and then I have to remember that I'm using my legs in a
And
different
remember,
way.
you're in a yin posture. You're not in
Right.
a typical vinyasa bridge pose here. We're doing a supported bridge. Final 2 breaths. And release. We'll take the block out. Grab the strap. Okay. So grab your strap, grab your tie, grab your belt. Right leg comes up tall. Wrap the strap around the toes or the ball of the foot. Straighten the right leg. You might want to grab both with one hand. There you go. And then pull your foot towards the crown of your head. You're working on the hamstring muscles in particular. Now, if she bends the knee here, that takes the hamstring out of it a lot. So try to keep the legs straight to the best of your ability. You might want to keep a little micro bend in that knee. And then pull down on that strap to engage the hamstring, to engage the calf muscles, to engage the bottom of the foot, the plantar fascia. And now if you would like to open that leg out to the side, feel free to do so. Another good time, if you can't get your leg to the floor, most people can't, lift up. Voila. Inner thigh, adductors, hip joint, external rotation of that hip. If you have any built-up fibrosis in that hip from injuries or the aging process or genetic predisposition, this helps to open that hip joint up, break up that fibrous tissue, increase the blood flow to that area. Final 2 breaths. And release. Let's switch legs out. Left leg comes up tall. Inhale. Exhale. Pull that left foot towards the crown of the head.
That's some kind of strange.
Now, you might feel different from one side to the other, okay? Because no human being is perfectly symmetrical. And you may have had an injury to one hamstring at one point of your life, but maybe not the other. So it has fibrous tissue buildup. It has scar tissue that reduces range of motion. So in all of our yoga postures, as we move from side to side, you'll see that it's not always the same. Sometimes there can be quite a remarkable difference from right side to left side. Final 2 breaths here. And then begin to take that left leg out to the side. Important here is keeping that right hip down. So maybe even pressing the hand into that right hip to keep that hip down. Now she has her foot on the floor. If you can't get your foot to the floor, remember you have your props. So that left adductor muscle is opening, left hip joint rotating externally, again breaking up fibrous and scarry type of tissue in there. Pressing down on the right hip for final 2 breaths. And release. You can get rid of the strap. Legs come out long. We'll move into our final postures. Wind removing pose. So in wind removing pose, you're going to bend your right knee to start. Grabbing either clasping your hands directly below your knee, or if you can't reach there, you can go for the inner thigh, for the thigh area. Go to the thigh. There you go. So either one works. Inhale. Exhale, begin to bring that right knee to the right shoulder. Shoulders both remain down. Left leg remains out long. Maybe the toes are flexed back to the nose. So while the left leg is not active here, you can still make it active by flexing the toes to the nose and engaging that calf muscle. And release. Inhale, left leg lifts. You can grab again behind the thigh or clasp your hands onto the kneecap. And release. Inhale, both legs come up together. You're going to grab around the knees. Now, if you can grab your elbows, great. But if you can't grab your elbows, grab your forearms. If you can't grab your forearms, grab your wrists. If you can't grab your wrists, get a strap and use your strap. Knees come to the chest. Inhale. Exhale. Take 2 final breaths. And release. Legs come out long. Arms come to the side, palms facing up as we make our way into our final posture of this 30-minute yin yoga practice. Final Shavasana. You can take as long as a Shavasana as you choose, but for our purposes today, we'll begin to bring Amelia out of Shavasana, making her way to the top of her mat, easy seated posture. Hands come to heart center. The light in us honors the light in each of you. We thank you for joining us today for our 30-minute yin practice. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you for joining us today for your 30-minute yin practice, and we will see you soon.